Hello, guys, and welcome to the big 30th edition of the Next One podcast. I am Ryan Conley, along with Brendan Smith, Zach Maharmo. I don't know if that's going to translate because somebody's recording it, so I might just be pointing at random things.
You just pointed down to yourself for me.
Yeah, same here.
I'm on the top right of my screen. We're just recording, so am I pointing you, Smitty, here?
No, now you're just kind of to the side. I'm where you are in your screen.
Okay, so here.
No.
I can't. Okay. But welcome to the Next One podcast. As you can tell, we have a thrilling episode ready to go, and I'm just trying to make myself laugh by doing that because I think God is out to get New England. I think he's trying to end us right now with coronavirus and taking all our beloved Patriots and bring them down south to where retired people go, Tampa Bay, Florida. Robert Gronkowski is officially a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. While we do get a free fourth-round pick, which is great, I just did not want to see Gronk in a different uniform, so I just want to get you guys' opinion on the madness that was today.
Smitty, you can go first. You go first.
I have a lot of feelings. My instant reaction when anything like this happens that could potentially be perceived or is actually bad for the Patriots, my initial reaction is to go on social media and yell at anyone who talks poorly about the organization. And I held back this time. I think I've matured over the last few years, and also with the winning, I shouldn't say as invested, but when these bad things happen, I think we kind of knew that the dynasty was coming to an end and we should expect more things like this to happen. Now that we're in this new stage of Patriots football. But I really don't I think there's one thing that maybe people should be upset about, and it's that they didn't get more of a return. They tried to trade Gronk in 2017. He wouldn't go to Detroit. He said on the record it happened and he wouldn't go there. He will not play for any other quarterback besides Tom Brady. He retired last year. Thought maybe he could come back. Once Brady left, I mean, obviously it wasn't the first thing that people thought, but should have known that Gronk was definitely never coming back to play here. And this report came out 2 weeks ago from PFT's dog, Leroy. And
it was a good day after all.
Yeah, and he was right. He had it. But I think it's a great situation for the team. Like, really, to sum it down, what has happened today is they gained a fourth-round pick. They didn't lose anything. And I said that the one thing that people maybe should be concerned about is the return that they got. But they traded soon-to-be 31-year-old tight end, granted the greatest tight end who ever played, 31 years old after a year off of retirement, who had so many injuries over his career, 9 surgeries. He said he's had 20 concussions, and he held all the leverage because the Pats right now have $1.1 million in cap room. If he came back, they would have to clear $10 million in order just to have him on the roster. They don't even have enough money to sign their own free agents right now, so they're going to have to trade. They're going to have to do something between now and Saturday in order to clear that space. So then they would have had to clear another $10 million if he said, I'm coming back, I'm putting in my reinstatement, you have to pay me the $10 million. That was the leverage that he had. Factor all of those things in, and just, again, to sum it up, that he would only go to one team, and that's Tampa Bay. I actually think that they kind of lucked out getting a fourth. I think maybe they could have pushed to get a third, but I think a fourth is exactly – I think that is the benchmark. Like, if they got a fifth or anything less, if I were Bill, I would have said, screw you. Like, you can either play for us or stay retired, and I know that you're not going to come out of retirement. And it is – and I don't think it is fully sunk in for me yet, because with everything going on, like, who knows if there's going to be football? So many things are happening. It's like, is this even real life anymore? Like, are we just in a simulation? Are we going to wake up from a really bad dream? And all of these bad things that have happened, Kobe's going to be alive. There's no COVID-19. Tom Brady signed with the Bucs. Gronk's coming back too. Like, none of those things have hit me. So I definitely think when September rolls around, it is going to be extremely weird to see both of them playing in Tampa. But good for them. I mean, if this is what they wanted to play football in a fun environment, go down to Tampa, which is one of the I'll say most interesting places in this country, nevertheless, in Florida itself. So, I mean, good for them as long as they're happy. But I think it definitely adds more fuel to and excitement to next year and puts more pressure on the Bucs now to compete. And it is going to be a competition between them and the Pats next year, whether Brady or Belichick want to admit that.
Yeah, I don't think. Sorry, one point. I don't think Belichick would have traded Gronk if they were in the AFC. So I think it could have been Tom Brady probably made sure to be not in the AFC because this is probably like Gronk and Brady have definitely been talking about this for months now. I can't imagine this is just a spur of the moment thing. So
yeah,
I think Bill only traded him because it was NFC and he's not going to see him. So might as well get a pick for him rather than just get nothing for him.
I mean, I'm not like that upset about the whole thing. I think, like somebody said, I think it's just gonna be weird seeing Gronk in a different uniform. But I mean, at the end of the day, he didn't play for us last year, and like you just said, Smitty, he was never gonna play for the Patriots again. And I don't really blame him for wanting to play with Tom Brady his whole career. I mean, if I was him and I had the experience of playing with the best quarterback to play the game ever, I don't think I'd want to play with another quarterback. And if I did have the opportunity, I mean, we all saw him now. I mean, he probably lost at least 20 pounds of just his total mass, whether it's muscle or fat, doesn't really matter. He just kind of slimmed down. So now he has to go through that whole cycle over again, which, I mean, for him, I mean, I'm sure it won't be a big problem for him. I mean, you train now. If he started training today, and football stayed scheduled for when it's supposed to stay, like he has 6 months, 5 months of training and eating, to gain that weight back. But I mean, I don't think his talent has diminished that much. I think defensive coordinators are going to be absolutely putting it in the blender, trying to figure out how to stop friggin' Chris Godwin on one side, Mike Evans on one side, Gronk on the line. I do think that they will not put him in as many blocking situations. I'd be intrigued to see how they kind of work that, because for the Patriots, he was a really good blocker. So I'm kind of interested.
He was an extra
to see
tackle, essentially.
Yeah.
In some formations, he really
was. Do you know how much he weighed when he played for us? Like 280, right?
I'll look it up right now.
270?
265, I thought I saw.
260s?
I thought it was 260s.
Okay. So I'm intrigued to see, because, I mean, if he does gain back that weight.
265 is what he's listed at.
265. So if he does gain back that weight, do they put him in situations where he's just catching the ball, or is he going back to blocking? So I'm kind of interested to see how they use him.
I think they're going to be a very pass-heavy offense, and I have two theories for the Patriots that I've been saving to tell you guys. Not Patriots, Tampa Bay. Basically the Patriots. Two theories for the Bucs that's going to happen this year. One is that they're going to be the Golden State Warriors, where they're just going to crush everyone in their path, go like 13-3, 14-2, pass 50 times. You just can't stop their offense. Or they're going to be the 2013, 2014 Brooklyn Nets, where like Darren Williams, KG, Paul Pierce, Joe Johnson, like, oh crap, they're going to be nice this year. And they kind of pan out, go just make the playoffs, maybe like 10-6, 11-5, and get out in the divisional round.
Do you think they win the division now? Because what do you guys say they weren't going to win the division?
I was, when we were texting about it on Saturday. I said that I do not think they, as it stood on Saturday before they had Gronk, I said without Gronk, where the roster is right now, I don't even think that they could win their division. I don't think they could beat the Saints. Gronk at 75%. I forget exactly what I said, but even Gronk at 75% makes a huge difference for them. Now could they? Yeah, I think they could. I think honestly, it's a pick 'em between them and the Saints. There's really so much riding on how healthy Gronk is going to be. I'm not concerned. I want to be concerned about him getting into football shape, putting on that weight. It's just a matter of getting reaccustomed to the playing speed, and most importantly, taking the hits. That's a huge thing.
Contact.
the contact. And if they really don't have any off season, they have thrown together preseason and they kind of just jump right into the season. Like, depending on how it plays out, that could be something that he has to reaccustom to in the actual regular season. Like that could be a longer process for him, depending on what the team's able to do for off-season workouts. But I do think that they could win the division now, and it's still not going to be easy. Like I said, it's probably a toss-up, but it gives them another. I mean, they just picked up, as I said, the best tight end to ever play. It's just a matter of if he's anywhere near that form or can be at some point in the next 6 months.
I mean, the Bucs do have a pretty good system too, because they don't need Gronk every play. Because I mean, I think we talked about they're probably going to trade or cut OJ Howard, but they still have Cameron Brate where he can still insert himself in a lot of the tight end situations. So they don't necessarily have to go to tight end. So I wouldn't be surprised if, especially the first half of the season, Gronk's not out there. Maybe he's out there for like 60% of the plays, or just 50%. It's a 50-50 with him and Cameron Brate. I wouldn't be shocked if they go down that route.
Yeah, I would honestly use him strictly in the red zone. Like, as soon as you hit that 20-yard line, seriously, put him in, and he's either blocking if you're pounding the rock and trying to get in the end zone, or if you're you do a goal line fade, anything. Like, I agree. I would definitely ease him into their rotation. I mean, at their peak, he could be their third option between him, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. I mean, that's perfect for him. Keep him healthy. Hopefully, going back to what I said about the offseason, if they don't really have enough time as a team to get a system in place, Bruce Arians has said, and he's been asked how he's going to approach it. Is he going to completely revamp his offense now that they have Brady, or are they going to integrate him into their system and make some tweaks based off of his knowledge and the things that he does? And he said the latter. They're going to keep their system, but they're bringing Tom in. They're going to teach it to him, but they're going to also have him make some adjustments as well. So Brady has to learn a whole new offense. If he's unable to do that in the offseason, week one, whenever that happens, is he going to be forcing it to Gronk on every play because it's the only receiver that he knows how to play with? Like, that's seriously a big thing. If they're not going to use him as much, Brady needs to not do what he did with Julian Edelman this year and just throw it to him every single time he dropped back.
No.
But I think Chris Godwin and Mike Evans do a decent enough job at getting separation. So
now I think the Bucs team now with Gronk really comes down to what you think Brady can still do. Because if you think Tom Brady's still 2016, 2017 Brady, then this is easily the best offensive weapons he's had, and they should score 30-plus points a game, honestly. But if you think Tom Brady is actually on a decline, and that it wasn't much his weapons' fault, it was more his slip and play fault, then it'll be interesting to see how well he plays, because this is easily the best cast of receivers he's ever had in his career.
Oh, yeah.
By far. Like, the second best
Definitely
would probably be the undefeated season with Wes Welker and Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Stallworth and all those guys.
Yeah, Rashae Caldwell, Ben Watson. It was being debated on NFL Network earlier, and I don't really even think it's a debate. At their peak, like I said, if Gronk's even 75% of the player, that's really all you need. You could have maybe two all-pro, certainly all-pro caliber wide receivers in Godwin and Mike Evans, who were both under like 26.
Yeah. And Gronk's only 31. Like, his body might not be young 31, but he's only like 8 months older than Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce's considered in his prime. And he had a year off to relax and get his body like feeling good, which according to his WBMD, whatever weed program he has, apparently his body's feeling great. So
Gronk.
Yeah, he's like
CBD medic.
CBD. So his body must be feeling great. So if Gronk is, because I didn't think Gronk was that bad, the 6th Super Bowl winning team. It's just he's probably aching the whole time. He still had 800 yards receiving.
Yeah, it was it was like 600.
He was just in
high
pain.
600s. I'll look it up right now.
High 600 yards. He was in pain the whole time. So usually like hobbling through each game. And now if you have a healthy Gronk, he's only 31. has time to gain muscle, get back in shape. Bucs are going to be very scary. I was 11-5, but I have faith that Tom Brady and Gronk are going to break all quarantine rules and make sure they're getting back in shape together. I can almost guarantee that happens.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys heard that Tom Brady broke quarantine rules and was at a park in Tampa. Did you hear about that? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and he got told to leave. That would never have happened if he was in Boston. Never would have happened.
That's crazy.
Shame on that employee for not knowing who he was.
I mean, that's Tom Brady. He didn't know what he had. he doesn't know what he's getting into in Florida.
No, he's got no clue. But in 2018, Gronk had 682 yards and 3 TDs. He played 13 games.
Yeah, and
year before he had 1,084 and played in 14.
I think
he struggled. That he wasn't himself that whole year.
Yeah, a lot of games he played but didn't actually play the whole thing.
Yeah, and he was a decoy for some too. I mean, he was used as a decoy for primarily throughout a few games from what I remember too. But I think Ryan, what you said about Brady, like that, I wouldn't be as concerned about Gronk, because I feel like when receivers and especially tight ends, when they hit the 30s, people typically expect a big drop, but the year off I think has a better chance of playing in his favor than hurting him, because if he was having all these injuries and he felt like he needed to get his body and his head right, and he's taking the year to do that, I think he may actually absolutely ball out and return to that greatness that he was before. I think it all rides on Brady. I always think of Peyton Manning the year before he retired. The year before he retired was when he broke Brett Favre's record, career passing touchdown record. And I remember reading an article about how like he's had a complete resurgence and revival of his career going to Denver, and no one expected him to do what he was doing there. And then at the end of the year, it just completely fell apart for him. They lost a divisional round, I think to the Ravens, maybe. Like they got smacked. Yeah, they got
Colts.
And then the next year he lost.
Oh yeah, because we played the Colts the next.
Was it the Colts? Okay. And then the next year he had lost his starting job. I mean, really over the course of that season, his second to last season, he really lost it. And that could happen to Brady, and everyone had been expecting that. I mean, Bill expected that to happen. That's why he drafted Garoppolo, and he's extended that out. But now he's going to be 43. And like, we're really getting to the point where that drop could happen so far, so fast. And if for whatever reason, if his legs start to give out or his arm, or he has an injury, I mean, that if he goes down or he isn't the same guy, that team, they're screwed. Even with those weapons, I still think they're screwed.
I don't know. I think a backup could suffice.
Would they draft a quarterback? Do you think they draft?
No, I think in the draft, the Bucs. If I'm the Bucs, I think first round.
You think they go all in by not even using a pick on a quarterback?
I think they go offensive lineman in the first round just to bolster up their line, and then they gotta bolster up that defense.
Yeah, they definitely have to take a tackle, and that's what they're projected. And like almost every mock draft I've seen, it has them taking a tackle with their first pick.
I'd go tackle, and then legit almost all the other picks, I'd go defense, because the Saints are absolutely loaded. Now they got Emmanuel Sanders, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. Like I think they still have Jared Cook.
Yep.
So you need to be able to stop that.
And getting back to Smitty's point about Peyton Manning, like that second last season, he was looking like the previous year where he broke the record 55 touchdowns in a season. He was looking
crazy.
Peyton Manning, and it's just all of a sudden, like 3/4 of the way through the season, total drop off. Just could not throw the ball anymore.
Yeah, I remember the stats were like 2 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions within a 5-week span, and everybody was like, "What the hell happened?"
Yeah,
did they win the Super Bowl that 55? The 55-year?
No, they lost.
No, that was the year they got smacked by the.
Okay, that's
29 touchdowns in the seasons when they won the Super Bowl.
because that's when their defense was the best defense in the league.
Yeah. He in 20 In 2014, Manning had 39 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. In 2015, he had 9 TDs and 17 interceptions.
Oof.
So
Then you got replaced by Brock Osweiler.
Yeah.
I don't think
Who is now retired.
is not talented at football on the NFL level. I'll say he has a good arm, but I don't think that kind of drop off will happen because Tom Brady didn't have the injury history Peyton Manning had with his neck and everything. But at the same time, Peyton Manning, I think, retired at 40, and Brady's going to be 43 going into the season. So
Brady also has like a strict, super, super strict routine that he does every offseason. Like, he puts so much time to take care of his body. No, I'm not saying that Peyton Manning didn't, but like Tom Brady is so known for that. And I mean, we saw him this year. I mean, he would fall down before he actually gets hit for the sacks. He knows, he knows kind of the ins and outs of taking care of his body. So skill wise, like, well, I shouldn't say skill wise, body wise, I don't think he's gonna have a drop off. It's more if he can. I think it's really more dependent on if he can develop the chemistry and the connection with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. And just like Smitty said, and doesn't end up falling back on his safety blanket on Gronk and kind of making their offense not as dynamic as it could be.
Yeah. By the way, too, real quick, Peyton Manning in 2014, the last 5 games, he had 5 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Just
including playoffs.
Looking at the game logs right now, no, including playoffs. So in 6 games he had 7 TDs. No, sorry, what did I say before? 5. He had 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So they lost to Indy in the divisional round, 24-13. He was 26 for 46, 211 yards, 1 TD, no interception.
26 for 46.
Yeah, like it's crazy how like it's kind of happened like in a game, like it just hit him. Which I wonder what it was to make that happen because he was really good in the beginning of the season. So
I think that's when the PED rumors started to float around, and then he, so then he stopped taking it.
And now he's on ESPN Plus, Peyton's Place, making shenanigans on.
Yeah. So I mean, something like that, it could easily happen to Brady, and if that happens, I think they're screwed. But
do we have either Tampa Bay way too early season record prediction, or do we have a Gronk how he's going to do the season way too early prediction? Anything like that before we move on?
So I saw on Twitter, I forget who had tweeted it out, but the opening odds for his season are over under 599 yards. Sorry, Siri keeps popping up on me. Over under 599 yards and over under 5.5 TDs. I would probably go. I don't know, because I don't know how they're going to use him. Is he going to be like primary red zone, or obviously they're going to have to, as Zach, as you mentioned, like slowly get him integrated. I don't think he's going to be at full speed 100% in the offense for the first 6 games, maybe even all year. They may try to use him primarily in the red zone, and he may not have, all those yards that he usually does have.
I would say, according to those, my personal odds, I think he's probably around 750 to 800 yards. And I think probably, if I had to guess, because I do think they're going to use him in red zone situations, because I think just naturally, I think that's the least likelihood of him getting hurt, because it's a jump ball. Like he's not catching it across the midfield where a safety can come down and crack on him. So I wouldn't be surprised if they use him in those instances. So I'd probably say around 8 touchdowns.
I'm about where Zach is on that. I think Brady's gonna Antonio Brown Gronk, where he's just gonna force feed Gronk like the first few games just to get him back situated. So I think a lot of those touchdowns and yardage is gonna come early, because I think Gronk will more than likely tail off. Like I think it'll be like a Larry Fitzgerald, like how Larry Fitzgerald every year, like the first 5 games he's just a stat monster, and like he'll have like multiple 100-yard receiving, multiple touchdowns, and slowly tail off. I think that'll be Gronk, where he'll have a hot start and slowly tail off.
What if they get Antonio Brown?
If Brady doesn't win the Super Bowl, then I would say Belichick over Brady. If you get Antonio Brown with everyone else, I think that
no way.
no, I don't even think there'd be no spot for him in the offense. Like Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Mike Evans, one of them would have to like majority sit. And
yeah,
those are three.
But I do think they win over 10 games.
I say over 11 now.
I would say at least 10.
Smitty, you know what the over under is for a game for their wins? I thought it was like 9.5.
It was initially 9.5, but I wonder if it moved since.
I'll see if it's been updated.
Yeah,
I think I'm looking at. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
I thought Patriots was 9.5. Actually, I think.
No, ours
were
is like
8.5.
Yeah, ours was like 8.5. Ours and the Bills, I think, are the same.
Which it's kind of
the Bills are higher.
You sure?
The Bills are favored. Yeah.
Damn it.
I'll look it up. But I'm looking at Gronk's stats per year. He had under 10 touchdowns in 4 years. 2013, where he played 7 games, and then 2016 through 2018. He had 3 in 2016. He also played 8 games, 8 in 2017. That's still pretty good. And then 3 in 2018. In 2018, he played 3 games. So, and he also had under 750 passing yards 3 times. And it was again 2013. I'm pretty sure that's the year. I don't remember if that was the year he hurt his back or his ACL. I'm gonna look that up.
The elbow year where like his elbow got.
Oh, that's right, because it was a year before the Super Bowl.
Because the Super Bowl was the first year where he had that big elbow burst.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was December 3rd, 2018. He suffered the right knee injury on the TJ Ward hit.
That was 2018.
Oh, yeah. That was 2013.
2013. Okay, yeah, 2013. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So, yeah, 2013, he had 592 yards. 2016, when he only played 8 games, he had 540. And then he had 682 in 2018. So, I mean, looking at that, I'd probably take the over on both, even without Brady, if he's healthy. And with this year off, if he was able to get his body and his mind right, I would hammer the over on both of those.
I agree.
So,
and I think that's maybe when I'll actually be upset about this whole situation.
When I take on the field, I'll be upset.
Because then it gives people all the people who were like laughing at like Patriots fans and how like they should be so miserable and how Gronk got traded for nothing. They'll have more ammo, and I don't need that in my life.
I don't need people taking shots at me. I mean, New England's already going through enough, losing all our superstars. They have the knife in us, and now they're just gonna twist it. But I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about Gronk, Tom Brady, everyone in Tampa Bay, New England, in later episodes. But we're gonna move on. Tampa Bay, New England. We're gonna move on to what we thought was gonna be the number one story, but that took a backseat real quick. It is the Jordan documentary. A lot of fun, interesting facts like that. I personally obviously know. I'm sure a lot of people already didn't know. I just wanted to get your guys' initial thoughts of what was your favorite parts of that documentary.
Oof, my favorite part. I guess not my favorite part, but I was talking about this before the podcast started. But I was kind of more like fascinated with just the way Michael Jordan moved. Like it was like the way he moved was like an absolute freak. Like his jump shots, instead of just jumping 2 inches off the ground, he was jumping a foot. You know, and like it also kind of paired with that. Another thing I was also kind of shocked about was the fact that nobody took threes on that 63-point night. He shot like 42 times. You know, and like that's just absurd. You have guys taking 20. There's been instances in the past 2 years where guys are taking 20 plus 3-pointers in one game.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was pretty crazy.
Mine would honestly the whole premise of the documentary, and with that being the 97-98 season, I didn't know one that their GM Jerry Krause was a dick, and this guy is just getting railed by the media and everyone who's watched us now. And he's no longer with us. This guy is dead, so he can't even defend himself, which is pretty shitty. But I mean, it is what it is. So, but I had no idea that they had this beef with him and that he had the greatest player of all time and the greatest number 2 and one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. And he told them all that you're done after this year. I didn't know that and how much of a factor in an ego issue he was. And
Yeah.
I like you wouldn't expect something like that given their situation. I mean, they dominated the NBA in the 90s, and I never expected their GM to be the person that he is.
Yeah, like whenever I look back in the 98 season, I just thought the team, like I just thought Jordan just wanted to retire after 98, and I just thought like the band fell apart. I never really looked into what Scottie Pippen's whole situation was. But if this happened today, like Jerry Krause would be like exiled from all sports. And the fact that the owner of the Bulls, I don't know his name, but hired Jerry Krause based off of Jerry Krause being a GM for the White Sox in baseball.
He was a scout for the Cubs.
Scout for the Cubs. Like, what gives him a qualification of that would never happen today?
I mean, at the end of the day, he did put together the team.
He put together.
He didn't draft Jordan. He did not draft
Jordan. Correct. But Jordan didn't do shit on his own.
Also, half his team was hack coke, but
but, I mean, I'm just saying. But I think
the 63-point game. What do you mean?
They lost the series.
They also only
because he had no one else.
That's my point. I'm saying Jordan didn't win by himself.
No one can win by themselves.
That's what the guy. That's what the GM was saying. But he wasn't saying. He was going farther with the fact that saying that it's not just them, it's also me.
Yeah,
like,
but he didn't.
Like I get credit.
He worded that in probably the worst possible.
The absolute worst way you could.
Every person in an organization plays some role in them winning a championship when they do, but it is obviously the players who are most important and should be the priority. Naturally. And not to jump around, but the Scottie Pippen thing, his contract situation, the owner is even more of a dick for saying, like, trying to make himself the good guy, and by saying that he told Scottie not to sign it because he wasn't going to renegotiate it. Like, I kind of understand where he's coming from, where if the player's going to give him this bargain of a deal and he tells him straightforward he's not going to renegotiate it, like he's kind of setting the tone there. But you have arguably top 20 player ever to play the game, and he's paid 120. His salary is ranked 122nd in the league. Do you know who that is right now in the current NBA?
Oh, it's Andre Robertson, right?
Andre Robertson. Yeah, you saw that on Twitter too.
I did.
Like that. I don't care what the agreement was. He signed that contract because he had so many people he was supporting. I think they said he had 9 siblings maybe, and
10 plus people in his family total, I think.
Yeah, and 2 of them were disabled. So he had that opportunity. He had to get every single dollar he could, have that guaranteed, and he helped you win multiple championships, and you won't pay him the money that he deserves. I mean, that would have been like Klay Thompson, like signing a deal like that, and then they go win 3 rings, and the owner of the Warriors is like, no, Steph's gonna get $40 million, but you can enjoy your 2.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? At the time, the Scottie Pippen contract was considered like an average, like upper tier level. Like that was like right before the boom of the Bulls just catapulting the NBA like financially through the roof. And I think I saw before that Jordan was also really underpaid. Like Jordan was like second or third highest paid on his team, like most of his career until the very end when he was getting 1 year, $30 million contracts. But at the time, it wouldn't look like a terrible deal financially, but it just happened the circumstance where everything boomed, the cap went through the roof. You could pay people so much more. And the Bulls had money to pay more. They just wouldn't because they refused to negotiate contracts after they were signed.
Yeah. Jordan made $30 million in the 96-97 season. He made 3.8 the year before. Before 96, the most money he made in any season was $4 million.
Jordan,
$550K, $630K, $737, $845, $2 million, $2.25, $2.5, $3.25, $4 million, $4 million, $3.85, $3.85, and then $30 million, $33 million. So he got paid $60 million. He had a career earnings of $93 million. He got 66 of that $93 million in 2 seasons.
Yeah, which is the boom of the NBA being able to like pay their players so much more. And I have just a couple of notes I told you guys about, but I want to share them that I thought were funny or interesting. And one was, I think it was like right in the beginning, Michael Jordan was just to Jerry Krause's face saying he took fat pills, and telling anyone they take fat pills is just an insult. Like in front of like you're trying to be like the GM, like you're their boss, and you're just the butt of every joke. That was funny.
I loved the clip of Jordan asking him if he wanted to come out and do warm-ups with them, and then Jordan saying that they'll have to lower the hoop. Like, that's their GM. That's their general manager that they're shit-talking, not like in a playful manner because they're like they have that great of a relationship, but because they absolutely hate him. Scottie Pippen, when Jerry Krause would get on the bus, Scottie Pippen would openly say extremely derogatory insults directly towards him, like their own GM who could have them traded. I mean, it wasn't that easy because of owners and everything, but like essentially one of their bosses, they just shit talk to his face. And I love that. It's a players league and they run it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think Scottie Pippen, he just didn't give a damn, and it was just like,
no,
I'm doing what I want, because he probably at points in the beginning of the 98 season didn't want to be there. I never understood, like, unless I missed it, they never explained why it was Phil Jackson's last year no matter what. I don't get that, other than Jerry Krause just being a dummy and wanting all the attention. Like,
that was the reason, right? Like
that
he legit just
reason,
wanted him
yeah.
gone because he's like, he wanted to make a point that everybody on a team is replaceable.
Like, I don't think that's ever happened since, at least in modern recent sport, where a coach was told like publicly before the season that he's not coming back no matter what. Like, you go
after he just won you a championship,
your 5th ring, and so you could go 8-2 and you're not coming back,
bro.
Like,
yeah, he was openly grooming Tim Floyd, and I'm trying to look up right now
Iowa,
where he was
right?
coaching at the time.
What
did you say?
It was Iowa.
It was like either Iowa State. He invited Jerry Krause invited Tim Floyd to his daughter's wedding and not Phil Jackson. That was the summer before the 98 season. And then he did end up replacing Tim Floyd ended up replacing Jackson the year after. But it's exactly to what you said. The guy just had a huge ego issue, and you have Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever. You hear that, Zach? Greatest player ever.
I value your opinions.
Scottie Pippen, Phil Jackson, these Hall of Fame players, and he's like, wait, I want credit too. Like, don't forget about me. It's what other GM has ever done that?
I think no GM, like Danny Ainge, isn't out like claiming he's the reason why Celtics have any of their success. Like, when he put together that 08 Celtics team, he wasn't like fighting for the glory like Jerry Krause clearly, at least in this documentary, presented how Jerry Krause was approaching it.
Real quick, Ryan, before we continue with the notes, I thought it was hilarious though when they asked Steve Kerr, what makes this dynasty so great? He goes, well, we got Michael.
Yeah. We have Jerry Krause. He's a great GM.
Yeah, exactly. See, yeah, no one's like, oh, we got a great GM.
Yeah,
Steve Kerr had a few good one-liners. I didn't write them down, but I remember he had a few good
He
one-liners.
looks the exact same.
Yeah,
he does. He really does. It's weird.
I wrote down that Jordan initially was put into a shitty situation with the Bulls because half his team was doing cocaine every night.
The whole team.
The whole team.
The whole team.
And Jordan was King Goody Two Shoes, not having anything to do with it. Which I'm team Goody Two Shoes too. I'd be like, Mom.
Oh man.
But I thought that was funny, like, because Jordan's known now as like a huge gambler and a guy likes drinking and smoking. It's like cocaine being the line drawn, like a hard line being drawn, no pun intended, was interesting.
He was corrupted at some point in his career.
He was. Maybe
It was all that golf. It was all the golf.
Maybe
Yeah.
golf. I also wrote crazy how, like, they're saying Jordan, when he's getting drafted in 86, that since he's not a 7-footer, he couldn't change the league, like he couldn't be a number one option to a championship team, and how like that dynamics nowadays is completely switched where if you're big guy's your best player, you're probably not going to win it all. It's just an interesting how like 40 years it's completely flip-flopped with help.
Yeah, the GM who drafted him said if he had the first pick, he would have taken Hakeem Olajuwon, because that's how the league was, and that's why, and the reason why the Rockets took Olajuwon over Jordan is because they already had, I believe it was Drexler at the time, so they already had a small forward shooting guard. They didn't need another one. I mean, as you say, like the league, and they showed that clip. I believe it was Will Chamberlain who said exactly what you just said. Like he's not a 7-footer.
Yeah.
So he's
Was
not.
that Will Chamberlain that said that?
I'm pretty sure that was that they interviewed.
I didn't know. I might not pay attention to who said that.
Let me check.
At the same, like, no one in the draft.
Maybe it was Walt Frazier, actually.
Well,
maybe I'm mixing.
It was Walt.
I think it was Walt Frazier.
But in any draft, you're not expecting a pick to be the greatest player of all time, and I feel like that is an understandable choice where you're not expecting Michael Jordan to be the greatest of all time. So, and you have Clyde Drexler, who is an upper tier elite shooting guard at the time. So why would you pick, especially when positions were very strict back then? Like you had a point guard, you had a shooting guard, like there's defined positions. So why would you need to use your number 3 pick on a position you already have? So
yeah, I mean all the greats up until that point were Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell. Like they were probably considered some of the best players to ever play basketball.
Even
up
Bird
until that point.
Magic's like 6'9", Bird 6'8".
Yeah.
So that was an interesting thought. We already talked about Pippen being the ultimate underpaid guy. I love on Twitter seeing the sub shop commercial he was in. Like I'm sure there's a bunch of like low budget, give all the money to Scottie Pippen, like for this ad. Like I'm sure a lot of those.
Get that bread.
Mm-hmm. And the ultimate,
really and figuratively.
The ultimate this league was when Scottie Pippen could have had the surgery in the offseason, but he's like, I'm not going to mess my summer up. I'm going to wait until it's on your dime, not my dime, to get healthy. Which I'm sure Michael Jordan wanted to kill Scottie Pippen at that point, because I'm sure Mike Jordan knew it was probably going to be one of his last seasons with the Bulls, because if Phil Jackson wasn't there.
Oh, they definitely knew that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, whether Jordan didn't know if it was going to be his last year with them, I'm sure he did, because he knew if it was Phil Jackson's last year, he wasn't going to play for Jerry Krause's puppet, who was going to come in the year after, and Pippen was gone. I mean, his contract was up. He was going to go get paid. So he definitely knew. And he said how upset he was and how he thought Scottie made a poor decision because he was being selfish. And honestly, I mean, good, like it played in his favor tremendously that they did win that title, because if they didn't, and a part of it was they didn't get a good seed or Scotty being out. I mean, that he would have been he would have taken so much more heat for that. And obviously now everyone takes his side, and it is understandable. But he really dodged a bullet with that, I think.
I agree. And morally, like, I'm on Scottie Pippen's side. Like, he should have got paid. But
yeah, I agree too.
At the end of the day, you signed a contract. You were aware of everything. You're under contract still. So you have an obligation legally with that contract to try to play every game. So technically he was the wrong. Morally, I don't blame him. And at the end of the day, they won it all. So
it worked out. Everyone won. Everyone was happy.
Except Jerry Krause, I guess. But yeah, that's all the notes I had. If you guys had any other
one of the things I really like too, like even like I love the way it kind of bounced back from like the 97-98 season, kind of like explaining kind of like how Jordan, like why Jordan the way he was. Like it would bounce back to his childhood and bounce back to him in high school, bounce back to him in college. And like I love hearing the stories of like him, like becoming the competitive person, and like B, like holding that throughout his life. Like when he got to like, it's so weird because when you think of the greatest player of all time, you never think that like he couldn't have gone from the high school right to the NBA. He couldn't do that. No. He played 3 years in college. And his freshman year at UNC, like he wasn't the best player on the court right when he was stepped on the court. Like it was like the work ethic that really ended up taking him there. And I forget I don't know if you guys remember the name of the guy who they were interviewing, but he was saying how after every single day of practice, Michael Jordan wanted to stay after and go one-on-one. And he was better than Michael Jordan for about 2 weeks.
James Worthy.
James Worthy.
Yeah. Or it was the Chicago resident Barack Obama.
That was mad. The memes, also side note, the memes from the show were hilarious.
It's only better because the next episode is the Dennis Rodman episode.
It's legit. We're just gonna watch a bunch of fights.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like, and then even then when he goes like he works his ass off for 2 more years. He leaves college early, and then he goes to the Bulls. They have like a terrible mentality, and like he's just talking about like the first day he's like, I'm trying to find the leaders in the group and like attack them, like just keep attacking them. And I mean they interview people on that Bulls team. They're like, within 2 weeks we already knew this kid's the best player on our team. So like I love the transition. And even like when he was a little kid, he just wanted to be competitive because like he just wanted his dad's attention, and it's so crazy that like one small like little fire like kind of erupted into like making him who he was, which I found pretty awesome.
It's crazy, like so many professional athlete stories are coming from poverty and like using that as motivation, where like you can see why like in the 80s and 90s why the league was so competitive.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to say I wasn't alive for the 80s and 90s basketball, but according to all the people that were alive for it, everyone's saying the competition level's gone way down, and that could be a matter of
the competition has gone down.
Not competition, but like the competitiveness has gone down.
Oh, okay, yes.
Where people aren't going 110% like Michael Jordan was or Dennis Rodman was.
Like with the whole like with the whole load management stuff.
Load management.
Like in that kind of tier. Also, how Michael Jordan didn't understand the whole concept of tanking. It was hilarious.
He couldn't process.
We're trying to lose games to get a better draft spot.
Michael, we're trying to help you over next year. They were a 30-52 team.
And they made the playoffs.
And they faced 86 Celtics who won 55 games that year, who's considered one of the best teams of all time, which we can actually great transition by me we can get into right now, because I want to talk about the hill to die on, and this week's is inspired by the Jordan documentary we're doing. Hill to die on, old NBA basketball edition. So I'll go first because my transition, and I'm saying that the 85-86 Celtics, that's the best Celtics team, considered one of the best Celtics teams of all time, if they had modern day advances on nutrition, like working out, growing up, like playing basketball, like having all the advantages today, I think the 85-86 Celtics team could compete with any team.
Did they win did they win it that year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That year.
That was the year they had Walton too, right?
Luke Walton, yeah.
Yeah.
Bill
Remember, because Luke Walton was pissed that he got stuck to Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah.
Bill Walton did because Bill Walton can move too well. Like that goes back to like the training staff definitely wasn't as good as now. Like
Very
players
true.
didn't take nutrition, hydrating. Like players were going on binges probably every other night. How Jordan said, like, Jordan would be up till 6 a.m. in the morning playing poker, smoking cigars, and then would work out at 6 in the morning. Where I'm sure like play like LeBron or Giannis, they're going to bed at like 10, 11. They're drinking all the water they can, eating exactly what they need to eat. So I think if nutrition and working out was taken as seriously back then as it is now, I think the players would have looked different. I think it would have been a different game. That's the hill I'll die on.
Okay. I think that's fair.
I have one last.
I'll go real quick, Smitty, real quick.
Okay.
Real quick. Ryan, would this team win a championship now?
Like if they,
or would they just be competitive?
Like this year?
What do you say? The past 3 years. Let's say you put him 3 years ago. Do they win a championship in 3 years?
If it's hard to say because back then, still the big
opinion. Your opinion, bro. Your opinion.
My opinion.
How good do you think this team would be if they had all these advanced technology?
Larry Bird's your best player, and they would adjust the team accordingly. Their skills would probably be a little different because of learning the game different.
Naturally.
I think that they would compete for a championship.
Give me a team comparison that you think they'd be like. So, I understand what you're saying.
I think, honestly, I think they'd be like the 08 Celtics. But I think Larry Bird's better than Paul Pierce. I think KG's better than Keith McHale. I think Ray Allen, like a player like Ray Allen wouldn't exist in the 80s because Ray Allen was the first.
Yeah, there was no shooter.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah. Like Dennis Johnson, you could kind of comp him, but he's also point guard. Like, I think I compare him a lot to the 08 Celtics, or even I'd say the Spurs.
Yeah, I like the Spurs comparison.
Tim Duncan and Manu and Tony.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'd be a lot like the Spurs, where if they'd be, because the Spurs weren't overly athletic, especially before Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, so they essentially are a modern day version of that Celtics team.
Very true.
Just relying on fundamentals, playing to their strengths, and having good ball movement.
Mm-hmm. So and having good players, which I think the Celtics do. So I'm switching the 08 Celtics. I'm going with the Spurs. 2014 Spurs is my team comp.
Okay.
So
all right, Smitty, what were you gonna say?
I had one last point, but I didn't want to ruin your beautiful transition from the documentary to. But the one thing I actually thought was so funny was people tweeting about the commercials, like they weren't expecting the commercials, and they were complaining like it's the one sports thing that we will have during this whole coronavirus situation. Like there's nothing to complain about. It felt like I haven't felt that feeling of excitement since football ended on a Sunday. I remember it was like 4:30, and I wanted to sacrifice the next like 4.5 hours of my day and just fast forward to 9, even though the weekend would be over, because I was that excited and that desperate for new sports content. So I thought that was hysterical. Like, how can you complain about that? We've been given a gift here. A gift.
It's just people our age just can't. We all have ADD. I hate how some people are diagnosed with ADD. Everyone has ADD. I do, for sure. I'm sure.
Just listen to the podcast and you can confirm that we all have it.
Yeah. You'll get ADD from listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
You can listen to this whole episode. You don't have ADD, but because we get off topic fast. And it's because we're so addicted to watching Netflix. Where when I'm watching Netflix or something, when like it's a teaser, like it would have been a commercial, like I freak out. I'm like, crap, there's a commercial, but it's not like nice. So when there was, even though I think the commercials were a lot shorter than normal commercials, like the commercials.
Yeah, bro, they were like a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
people just can't. We can't give people anything nice.
No. Because once you give us an inch, we'll take a yard and complain. So.
All right, exactly. Smitty, what's your hill?
But mine was that the 2010 loss, NBA Finals loss to the Lakers. You're giving me a funny look. Am I incorrect with that?
No, I thought you were going to say something else.
The 2010, I changed it last second. 2010 Celtics NBA Finals loss to the Lakers is one of the most underrated losses and tragedies in recent Boston history. I feel like that gets swept under the rug and people don't talk about it. And in a weird way, I guess I'm happy that they do. I was crushed when that happened, and I was only 14. So it's like
13, 14.
Adolescence. But
you just want to go to the parade and be belligerent.
Yeah, at 14, yeah.
14.
Starting young.
Left and right.
But I thought that the big three, they were so fun to watch. And growing up, I mean, we heard these stories about the original big three and Larry and that run and how good the Celtics were. And they were absolute garbage up until when we pulled off the KG trade and then got Ray Allen too.
Mm-hmm.
And that team was so good. They were so fun to watch, and they should have won more than one finals championship. I felt like the next day, like it was like nothing had happened, and it's never been talked about since.
And we had that game 7. Like we were
up game 7 we had it. We went into the fourth quarter with the lead. And they blew it.
We blew it. And 09 KG gets hurt, so that gives Orlando. Yeah. I think, did we lose to Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals that year?
I think that was that year. I can check it. But I guess just including that too, my overall hill that I'll die on is that team should have won another ring.
It shouldn't have been a one and done team. It should have been
a
mini dynasty. I agree.
But we won't be greedy. We'll take the one. We'll take that one ring.
Take them where we can get them.
All right. And lastly, for my very, very unpopular opinion.
In Massachusetts, different parts of the country it's popular, but in Massachusetts it's definitely not popular.
I think sticking with the theme of old school basketball, if you just did a swap-a-roo of Michael Jordan out, LeBron James in, I think they win the most amount of titles. How many years was Michael Jordan with Scottie Pippen?
All 6 that he won. He was drafted.
But how many years though? Because there was a year they didn't win the title.
I think.
It was a gap year, right? Because it was 2 3-peats.
2 3-peats. Right? One season he
2
didn't
3-peats. There were 2.
How many years was Scottie Pippen on the team?
Scottie Pippen was drafted in
87.
87?
87?
Yeah.
You put LeBron James with Scottie Pippen. He wins the title every single year. That is my take.
We have to take into account that LeBron wouldn't have the same
LeBron would have bulldozed over every single person.
He probably wouldn't be the same size because he didn't have all the nutrition and working out and everything.
He still would have been 6'8". He still would have been a ball handler. He still would have been able to drive. Bro, that's the whole game. The whole game was driving and dunking. That's right up LeBron's alley.
A lot of players learned that from watching Jordan in the late 80s, 90s, imitating Jordan.
I'm saying LeBron would have had the same effect, if not greater effect, as also I think LeBron is more of a charismatic person than Michael Jordan was.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's far more charismatic. He's more of the wanting the limelight.
Michael Jordan did. It's just because Michael Jordan, he's no, I don't want to do anything else. I just want to focus on basketball. I just want to play basketball. So
I wonder how LeBron would fare, if he'd be able to keep himself as healthy in that era than he is now, even with him going to the finals for 20 straight years. But I mean, just like the way the game was played in the 90s, it was extremely physical. And LeBron, I mean, he literally went back to back. What was it, like 9 years in a row, 7 years in a row? He was going to the finals. And obviously, it's not as physical, as more finesse in the game now. But I mean, if Jordan was able to do it to some extent, I'm sure LeBron would be able to. But I wonder how that would play out for him. Like if his career wouldn't. I mean, do you think he would be playing at this, at this peak right now? At his age, if he was playing in that era, I don't think so. I think he probably would have been burnt out at some point.
Yeah.
No, and where he's bigger and more physical, his body probably would have taken even a bigger toll than maybe Jordan.
If you put LeBron, let me reword this. If you put LeBron just on all the championship teams, and you just replace Jordan, I think the drop off is very low, if not minimal. The only thing that I would think of is, just like Ryan said, was like the positions were very strict with like point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, in center, and like LeBron doesn't really he fits in a small forward, but he's also a ball handler.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the only drawback would be, I feel like he would get stuck in a role where he really wouldn't thrive, because I feel like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the majority of the ball handling was pretty much just point guard and shooting guards. And besides that, like if a big got it, it was like either like a catch and shoot or like a back down. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's probably mostly correct. There's probably some exceptions like Larry Bird, or I think Charles Barkley, like from the ball a little. But I think mostly it's just point guard or shooting guard.
So that's my hope.
A big man in the 80s and 90s.
LeBron also, sorry to interrupt you, he would have been a power forward. He wouldn't have even been a small forward. He would have been a power forward.
6'8".
Yeah, no, he would have been a power forward in the 90s.
What?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
He would, yeah. So I think Charles Barkley was a power forward. Was he a small forward?
Huh. Barkley, he was no, he was a power forward.
Well, Dennis Rodman's a power forward too, right? And he's probably the same height.
Yeah, Pippen technically was, but I mean they're all like 6'7" to 6'10", I feel like LeBron, I mean he's a one of a kind. He can play, I mean arguably all 5 positions, but definitely 1 through 4. But I think he would have been considered more of a power forward, and exactly as you said, like not really given as many opportunities to be a ball handler.
True.
Yeah. So that was a very fun discussion. I can't wait for next episode, the Dennis Rodman episode. It will be very interesting. If you haven't watched the Dennis Rodman 30 for 30 that's already out, you should watch that before if you can, because that gives a lot of context. And in that, it describes more his days leading up to the Bulls. It doesn't really talk about a lot with him on the Bulls. So watching that helps a lot. And I watched it it's a very long documentary, but it's very interesting because they said Scottie Pippen grew like 6 inches between or something.
Yeah, that was weird.
Dennis Rodman did the same thing, but in college, where he grew like 8 inches in college. So I'm like, what are these guys like? Can I hit that late? Give me one more quote for it. Like I made that connection because I watched the Dennis Rodman one. I'm like, wait, Dennis Rodman also grew like 8 inches when he's like 20, and Scottie Pippen grew like 6 inches in college as well. So I'm like, this makes no sense. No, such an outlier in how both were on the same team. And I'm pretty sure Michael Jordan, well, also, but that's in high school, but he wasn't as much.
He grew like 6 inches over the summer.
Yeah, which is crazy too. But
yeah,
that's
also the Bad Boys 30 for 30, the Pistons one is pretty good too. I'm sure that rivalry will definitely come into play at some point, whether it has to do with their matchups in the playoffs or the dream team situation with Isaiah. That'll definitely come into play.
Yeah, so I'm ready for all the drama. I need some sports drama in my life, even if it's just from the 90s. As long as I haven't seen it from a perspective, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Now, last segment, we're going about a little over an hour, so we have time for it. So by the time we have our next episode 31, the draft will have happened. So I'm wondering what you guys think the Patriots will do in the draft. And if you had to go for a quarterback, who would it be? And who you think's the best quarterback in this draft.
Okay, well, that's like 4 questions in one.
That's what we do. It's a run-on question.
Yeah, do you want me to answer all of them now, or answer one, and then we have a discussion about every one? What do you think, Brian?
Let's say who the Patriots should draft first, and then we can talk quarterbacks after.
Well, once we trade out of the first round, because why would we use that pick? We'll get a second-round pick, and maybe I think a first-round pick is a good fair trade for a second and like a second and a fourth, maybe. I don't know. So then we'll get a second-round pick. We'll drop down. I think we'll go defense first.
So you think Stidham's the guy?
I think we will draft a quarterback, but I mean, aside from the first round quarterbacks of Herbert, Tua, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, I think all those guys end up going in the first round, and I think we don't get any of them. So I mean, that leaves there's a couple outliers. I know I was the one guy I was looking up was Jacob Eason, who was at Georgia, but then Jake Fromm beat him up for the position. So he transferred to Washington, and he had a pretty decent senior year, and now he's coming out for the draft. They project him around a third or fourth round pick, but he's nice big frame body, 6'6", I think 230, decent speed, but pretty decent pocket passer. Has a pretty good zip on the ball, good accuracy. But he kind of freaks out when he's under pressure in the pocket. But again, he's a rookie quarterback, so these are things you have to develop. So I wouldn't be shocked if we take someone like him or like a Jake Fromm from Georgia who's just been consistent. The best quarterback in the draft, though, I still think it's Tua. I'm sure you guys saw all like the QB metrics that came out. Did you guys see that? The QB scoring thing they did?
Yeah, I saw from who?
Yeah. So Tua was last.
And the lick.
The Wonderlick. That was a false report, though.
Oh,
it was a false report. Tua
looks stupid.
His actual score was an 18, which still isn't that good.
Yeah, I think the report was like a 13.
Yeah, it was a 13.
Yeah,
that is what was.
But, I mean, I still think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think
over Burrow.
I personally like him over Burrow. Personally, watching him being successful for multiple years, I think that carries more weight than Joe Burrow's one really good season. My opinion.
That's fair.
Plus he draws a lot of comparisons to Drew Brees just because of the size stature, but I think he's also a lot like Russell Wilson, and I love Russell Wilson.
I don't think
including. I mean, I don't know, but including the injury factor, would you still take Tua over Burrow if you were the Bengals?
No, I think the Bengals have to take the safe pick, and the safe pick is Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins, because the Dolphins have nothing to lose. They got nothing to lose. Nothing. No. I think you take Tua. It's only upside. And, if you suck, no one cares because everyone just assumes you're going to suck anyways.
You have Ryan Fitzpatrick to get you to 6 wins.
Some sort of Fitz magic will spark.
Yeah.
You got Kyle Van Noy now. He can do something.
Yeah. All right.
Ryan, what were your 4 questions? Which one should I answer first?
So I want you don't have to say the player, but what position the Patriots should draft, or as Zach said, should the Patriots trade down, trade up, and then give me what quarterback, if any, the Patriots should take, and who's the best quarterback in the draft.
Okay, I still think it's Burrow, even with. I actually went hard out this past few weeks because we've been discussing this and watch film. I do still think it's Burrow. I think he's got a great arm. He's got the confidence.
But Tua, Smitty.
I know, but he is a baller. He
is.
Cam Newton only did one.
His ability and Tua does a great job of this too. But the ability to let things play out, let the play develop. His vision in the pocket and just the ability to make plays. I mean, they both do a great job, but I love Burrow's ability, and I think that he's poised to have a better career. The things that concern me with Tua, one, his height, but I think there's other quarterbacks in the NFL, especially even right now, have proven that may not be as much of a factor as it has been considered in the past, especially if you have athleticism. But honestly, overall, just his ability to protect himself, that's a huge concern. Watching him when he takes off, I mean, his ability to avoid or to get out of a crush pocket and make plays out of nothing. And when he takes off and starts running, I mean, he is extremely shifty. He leaves people twisted up, but he plays too hard. And it's actually kind of weird to have a knock against an NFL player for playing too hard, but he does not protect his body at all. And with his injuries, his hip injury, the injuries with his wrist and his ankle, I think those are huge red flags. I agree with you. If I were the Dolphins, I think that they should definitely take him. They really don't have that much to lose. They have a ton of draft capital they can avoid. They can afford to take a risk like that. But there's rumors now of like the Pats maybe trying to move up and finagle things to get him, especially if he drops into the teens. I don't want them to trade up for him. I don't think they should give up assets to move up to get him. The risk is too high for them. And also, right now, this team, the way they are constructed is dead between, are you going to be a legit contender or are you going to tank? Because they have veterans who are on the back nine of their careers, and then younger guys who are like a year or two away from really reaching their peak. And they are caught in the middle. I think they have too many holes to fill if they want to be competitive, and they shouldn't give up those assets. I agree with you, Zach. I think they're going to be a primarily defense. As I've said the last few weeks, I don't know how they go into this season with the same tight ends from last year with Lacoste and Izzo. They have to get a tight end, and it's not really a tight end heavy draft. I would love to see Thaddeus Moss just because I think that would be cool. But the tight end from Dayton, and of course I'm blanking on his name, he's really run up the draft boards the last 2 weeks, and he could be available for the Pats if they want to take him maybe with the 23rd pick. But primary defense, they need linebackers, definitely need one tight end, and then I also think they'll draft a lineman as well. I don't know if it's that bold anymore because there's more reports coming out about it, but I think that they'll actually trade Tooney and try to.
For what?
Huh?
For what?
For picks, and they'll get a second round pick because so this is why I don't think that they should, and I think they kind of ended up screwing themselves last year by paying Shaq Mason. But
Shaq Mason's good.
Would you rather have Shaq Mason or Joe Tooney?
Man, Skarnecki is just a good O-line developer, okay? Like,
I know, but he's gone now. We don't have him anymore either. So Tooney was an All-Pro this year. They can't agree on a long-term deal, according to reports, which means he probably wants that All-Pro money, and Bill's not going to give him that All-Pro money. So, yeah. So I don't think that they're going to work out an agreement. Really, the only hope is that he has a bad year or gets hurt. Bill can get him at cheaper money. But as I referred to earlier, they have $1.1 million in cap space. They literally don't have enough money to sign their draft picks right now if they keep all 12. So they're going to have to clear up space. Really, the only two, I mean, there's probably other ways that they can maneuver it, but the two ways I see them doing that are either trading Tooney or cutting Sanu. You trade Tooney, I think it's a $10 million cap hit that you free up. And then if you cut Sanu, it's $6 million. I don't know if cutting him, I don't know if that would do it or not, but I think that they're going to trade Tooney because it's more money off the books. They get value back for him, and they're probably not going to re-sign him. And they'll use, I don't know if they'll get a first for him. I doubt it. Maybe one for next year. I would say a second, and that's probably how they get into the second round. And I do think that they use that first pick, especially if they're able to trade Tooney, get a second round pick, because as I said last week, they're usually not this high up in the draft, but they're in the low 20s. So and traditionally they have used the pick when they're closer to the teens. So for a quarterback that they would take, the quarterback I did some research on was Jalen Hurts. I think he's actually one of the more underrated quarterbacks in this draft, and I don't think people take him as seriously as they should for two reasons. One, because he lost his starting job to Tua and had to leave Alabama, but he played for Oklahoma, and in that offense, your stats really are inflated. But also, like, him and Tua are very similar. Tua's just, he's got a better arm and he's more athletic. But I still think that Jalen Hurts could be a legit quarterback in the league. He ran a 4.6, and same with Tua, his ability to make plays when the pocket collapses. Some of the knocks on him were that he doesn't have great vision, and he doesn't have as great of an arm, and sometimes he wouldn't lead receivers. But I don't think if he's in a Patriots offense, he's going to be throwing 40-yard bombs every time he drops back. He's an ultimate playmaker. I had one stat, but I'm going to keep ranting until I pull that up. No, I'm not. Okay, so he was the 4th FBS player since 2000 with 30-plus passing touchdowns and 20-plus rushing TDs in a season. The other 3 were Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, and Tim Tebow. So, I mean, even if they draft him and Stidham's the guy, I mean, they could almost use him like a Taysom Hill type player where they really can roll out anything. And I would love to see Josh McDaniels with a player like that. They tried to get Tim Tebow to do it a few years ago, but he wanted to play quarterback and nothing else. So, as I've said the last few weeks to you, even if they draft a quarterback, I wouldn't see that as them not having trust in Stidham. I think they should take a quarterback every year until they know they have the guy. And if they have Stidham and he's the guy, but Hurts is still good too, they can maybe still trade him and get some assets back. So, someone like him, Eason, as you said, maybe like a Jake Fromm, someone in like the 2nd and 3rd round, if they can get them. I think that's a safe bet for them for drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, I like that comparison for Taysom Hill. I think Jalen Hurts could be a good Taysom Hill because he's an actual like really good quarterback. He plays physical. I don't know if he can catch, but as like will he run into throw it kind of throw it maybe.
Yeah.
If he can do some of the things, I think that'd be a good play. All right, so I'm gonna say I was looking at some Jordan Love, and I think the only way the Patriots would draft Jordan Love is if they're gonna try to follow the Kansas City approach, where let's just find a guy with a huge arm, a lot of potential, a lot of questions like Patrick Mahomes had out of college, and just hope that he's the real deal. Where his tape is junior, which I don't think the Patriots are going to go off based hope. So I don't think they're going to draft Jordan Love. But if you look at his junior with, I forget his coach's name, but when he was with his old coach who left after that year, like he was unreal. Like everyone thought he'd be
Coach Wells.
Maybe.
Yeah, because he's from Utah, right?
Yeah, Utah State.
Yeah. The coach from Utah went to Texas Tech.
Oh yeah, Texas Tech. Yep, yeah, you're right. So yeah, so he left, and their new coach was from Oregon State, I think. I forget his name, but like he had a losing record at Oregon State. Jordan Love played not terrible, but a lot less efficiently than he did his junior year. So I'm thinking if you want to go down that Patrick Mahomes route where a guy with a big arm can make plays on his feet, can roll out and sling it like a flick the wrist, throw it 50 yards, like, and he's a good long ball thrower. Like half his stats were just perfect dime long ball throws. But again, all of them are also open because it's college in Utah State. But if Patriots want to go down that road, they'd have to change their wide receivers too, because the Patriots wide receivers are not built for Jordan Love to have success in the NFL.
What do you mean, bro? You don't think Mohamed Sanu is a good deep down the field threat?
I mean, if Julian Edelman can turn into Mike Evans or something, maybe it could work. But I don't think that'll happen. But I think it would cause a lot of buzz, which would be good for our podcast if we drafted Jordan Love, because then we could talk about it and be very interesting to talk about. Now, what I think the Patriots will do is, I agree with Zach. I think we're just going to trade down. We don't have a second-round pick. I think we're just trying to collect picks. I think we're going to basically – we'll draft a quarterback later rounds, I think. I don't know who. But I think Stidham's going to win the job. We're going to see how this year goes. And next year, we're going to have a stockpile of picks because we're going to get –
plus million in cap space. I think it's like $108 million in cap space next year.
So much cap space.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be next year where Belichick's – whatever plan Belichick has, I think it's going to be next year where it's going to go into action. Where I'm not a huge Trevor Lawrence guy, but if you want to trade –
huge Trevor Lawrence.
If you want to bring in the Brinks truck and trade your whole draft for Trevor Lawrence, you have that chance because you'll have 14 picks next year or something like that. Do that if you wanted to. have all that cap space. You can get like high-end talent free agents. Belichick can mold this team the way he wants to next year with all the cap space. So I think unless Jared Stidham's just the guy no one expected, I think at best we could be a playoff team, especially with 7 seeds now. I think we could maybe make it to the divisional round playoffs. But I think Belichick's really planning for next offseason where he's going to do everything. So I think he's just going to try to get all the draft picks he can out.
Playing the long game?
I think he's going to play he's obviously – Belichick's playing to win now, as always. But I think GM Belichick is going to try to play the long game. And hopefully GM Belichick's better than GM Bill O'Brien.
I agree completely. I honestly think this year is going to be like almost a bridge year, like a glorified bridge year where they just see what they have. If Stidham's a guy, if they have talent in some of these young picks, if they can get N'Keal Harry going, and then as you said, really load up over the next 2 years and take another stab at this.
Yeah, like because Belichick obviously he's 67, 68. He has hopefully like 6 or 7 years left in him to coach. So obviously he's not planning to have any losing seasons, but you got to sometimes take one step back to take 3 steps forward. So this might be
she's chasing that record, bro. Can't be losing games.
Yeah, once Don Shula's record.
Mm-hmm. Which 6-7 more years he'll get it, but
yeah,
I think he just has to average like 10 wins over the next 6 years, and he's got it. But yeah, it'll be an interesting draft. The draft will be probably the most action-packed week we've had since early March. We have the draft and the documentary, so I'm pretty stoked about it. But this has been the 30th edition of the Next One podcast. Do you guys have any last words on anything we've talked about or anything we haven't talked about before we leave?
My last words are I cannot wait for there to be a technical malfunction on the online draft. It is going to be so funny. I cannot wait.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
This time next week, we could still be previewing an NFL draft because they may just have to end up canceling it when.
2 things. I think somebody said last week, but I can't wait to see Roger Goodell's basement.
Yes.
I think somebody said that. And my last thing is that I'm laughing at the Hurleys because that poll we posted, 94% said cereal before milk, so it's kind of embarrassing. But this has been the Next One podcast. And for the Next One podcast, I'm Ron Connolly, along Brendan Smith, Zach Maharmo. We were supposed to get intern Erwin, but I forgot to record the message. Until the next one, thank you for listening, and it's draft day, baby. Maybe draft day.
Go Pats.